Hello and welcome to another Betfred Sports video right here in the Quest Media Network studio. Peter will delve right into the action. So this weekend it's the Challenge Cup final at Wembley between St Helens and Castleford. What can you tell us about this encounter?
Well, it's the first time we've been sponsoring this. It's a natural progression from our sponsorship of the Betfred Super League and the grand final that competition culminates in. So it was a natural fit for us to take on the Challenge Cup. So it's now the Betfred Challenge Cup, and it's at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon at Wembley Stadium. This year we've got St Helens, who are out and out favourites. I mean, they're 3-10 to win this game, so they're supremely informed. They're the favourites for the Super League grand final as well, and they're playing Castleford. Now, Castleford were absolutely hammered last week by Salford, who chalked up the highest ever score. They got 70 points against them last week. But you've got to remember, Castleford were preparing for this game, so they had lots of academy kids playing, they had all the squad players playing, and they're supposed to be making 11 changes in a 30-man game for this game on Saturday. So you can see it'll be a completely different Castleford team. Having said that, it is looking more and more likely that it'll be St Helens who win. They've had an extra 2 days rest as well. Their last match against Wakefield, which they won. And I can't see much more than a substantial St Helens win. But you never know with Darryl Powell, the coach. He's going to be he's moving to Warrington next year from Castleford. He might have something up his sleeve, some tactical switch that'll nullify what is a fantastic St Helens team. I mean, St Helens are basically like the Manchester United stroke Manchester City of the Super League. They just win every week. They find a way of winning. I
mean, it is a final. Anything can happen, as we've seen in rugby, in football, in cricket. But before this competition began, did you see these two going out in the final? Of course, St Helens, like you said then, the equivalent of Manchester United. But Castleford, a little bit of an underdog.
Yeah, well, Castleford beat Warrington on the way to the final. I did see it being a Warrington St Helens final, but that was the most likely scenario, the way it was panning out. But it's great to have a David and Goliath battle emerging. All the neutrals will be on the side of Castleford, and it'll be kind of good for the game if Castleford put up a decent show in front of a BBC audience. It's a fantastic occasion with 40,000 people at Wembley. Hopefully there'll be no trouble at all, unlike in the England match. And it's on the BBC, as I say, and it's the first boost really that rugby league has had, and it deserves it for all the effort they've put in to keep this sport going during the COVID situation. And they've got the World Cup as well. That's been given the go-ahead now for October, so it's all going well for rugby league.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Betfred owner Fred Dunn has provided his thoughts on this Challenge Cup final in his weekly column in this week's Thames High Report and Glossop Chronicle, and you can find out all the collection points on our website, questmedianetwork.co.uk. But we'll take a look at some football news now. Obviously, the Premier League starts in just over 4 weeks' time. What are the outright odds looking for the Premier League?
Well, it'd be no surprise to many people that City are the outright favourites. They're odds on to win the Premier League. They're 4-6 with us. Betfred have Liverpool and Chelsea equal second favourites at 5-1. Manchester United, with the acquisition of Sancho and more players to come, well, more players to go out potentially. I mean, Pogba could be going, I suppose. They're 8-1. And really, those are the four who will be competing for the Premier League. And then we've got Tottenham 40-1, Leicester 50-1, and Arsenal drifting all the time to 66-1. It is looking. It's the Community Shield coming up soon.
It is,
first. Manchester City outright favourites for that as well, not surprisingly. So for City to get the quad, I know City fans don't like me talk about this at all. They think it curses.
Yeah, bit of a jinx.
Yeah, but the fact is that City is 66-1 to get the quad. Now they're the shortest ever odds that Betfred have ever put out for a team to get the quad. This time last year, City were 200 to 1, so you can see the difference and the dominance of Manchester City, particularly if they get players like Harry Kane coming in.
Well, I was going to ask, does that show the dominance of City or the weakness of other sides?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. I think other teams are going through a bigger transformation than City. All those teams at the top there are all going through transformation of degree. City have lost Aguero, for instance, so they've got to replace him. I don't think Jesus is the answer at all. And then Liverpool, they're always looking to reinvigorate the team. Likewise, Chelsea with new manager, and United, they really need to step up the gas and prove themselves, not wanting to be the bridesmaids and be happy with being the bridesmaids. It's time for Manchester United to show that they are the top team in the land. So they're 8 to 1 shots. Be very, very interesting to see what Solskjaer does on the transfer market there. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, if you fancy new boys Brentford to pull off a shot and win the title, they are 1,000 to 1, is that right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Watford, Brentford, Palace, Burnley, they're all at the bottom there at 1,000 to 1, and Norwich, of course, 1,000 to 1 to win the title. Can't say it.
What about Newcastle? Obviously, every summer there's a lot of unrest at St James's Park. They don't want Mike Ashley there. They think he's ruining the club. But for me, they've done all right in the past few years. They've done what they're meant to do.
They are, as you say, kind of a team that's sort of just treading water, basically. They don't seem to do anything at the top or the bottom, or they just avoid relegation each time. They just like to step up the gas. You wonder what it'd be like if they didn't have Steve Bruce, frankly.
Yeah. And what about Everton under Rafa Benitez? Do you think they could pull off a shot this season?
Well, they're coming in a little bit. They're 100 to 1 now for the title. But again, it's all right having a manager. You've got to have the players on the pitch, and he's got to start bringing in some quality acquisitions to dent those huge odds on Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea and United that I mentioned before.
Yeah, he certainly has. But looking towards next year, it's the World Cup in Qatar 2022. Obviously, after the disappointment of Euro 2020, everyone's looking forward to this. Do you think England could win that competition? I mean, it's not just European teams now from all over the world. Brazil favourites, am I right?
Yeah, well, Betfred have France and Brazil equal favourites, 11 to 2. I was surprised that France should be up there because they didn't really set the world on fire at the Euros, but they are there. They always seem to turn it on when it matters, and they always compete in the top events. And they have got some tremendous players like Mbappe and Griezmann and people like that, and Pogba. So they have got the quality there. They're 11 to 2, Brazil 11 to 2, the same. Then surprisingly, England 7 to 1, third favourites. Now Spain 9 to 1. Italy and Belgium 10 to 1, along with Germany, Argentina 12 to 1. Now, I want to talk a little about England there. That's probably because the high ranking there as third favourite, 7 to 1 with Betfred, is probably because they have got such a young team that is going to grow into this tournament. Next year, just think of those lads who are all in their early 20s and 19-year-olds, they're going to be 20, 21, 22. They're going to be even better players, you would imagine. Some of the old stagers, like Sterling, like Henderson, they might not figure next year. But those really young ones will come stronger next year. And so that's why the odds are 7 to 1. And they've got a degree of stability with the Southgate highly likely to be staying through the World Cup.
Going into that competition, like you said then, we might not see players like Henderson figure, but for the young guns, the 3 young lads that missed the penalties, that will prove invaluable, won't it?
Well, you'd hope so, although you do wonder about when they go to take a penalty next time, whether this plays on the mind. I mean, those penalties, I did think it was odd that he should pick players who've hardly touched the ball in the tournament. It might have been better for him to say, right, to Sterling, for instance, you won't take one. Grealish, who seems full of confidence, you take one, rather than bring players on cold. We all know what it's like if you haven't been involved in that game to the high degree that Grealish who else was there?
They took Henderson off, didn't they?
Yeah, took Henderson off.
Yeah.
Well, that was because he missed one previously. But it was a bit odd. It was almost like it was too convoluted. It might have been better if they'd have got the players together and, like they always do when I've refereed matches, say, right, who wants to take one, and go with those who are confident. Maybe just have one or two, like Kane, and obviously Maguire wanted to take one. What a penalty that was. He just almost broke the net with that one. He really
brought the camera behind there, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. So that was fantastic, those two. And then he could have just said, he was up for this, and if Grealish put his hand up, well, go and take one. Because at that stage, it's more about confidence, isn't it?
Absolutely.
They're all going to be able to take a penalty and score, you would imagine, in training. And it doesn't matter if you got 10 out of 10 in training. There's a big difference with that horrible walk from the halfway line.
Yeah, there certainly is. Well, it takes guts to take a penalty, and it's also going to take guts to win the World Cup in Qatar in 2022. And if you do fancy England, at the moment, they are 7-1 to win that competition. Well, it's been great speaking to you once again, Peter. And if you do fancy a punt on the Betfred Challenge Cup this weekend, Betfred stores are now open, but you can also bet online and via their app.